I would say I see myself as part of the social movement. Greta Thunberg, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, who absolutely has catalyzed that movement.
Well, we've got Mark Carney. Do you really know who he is? Mark Carney and his connection to Greta Thunberg, the climate change movement, the climate net zero policy, all of this nonsense he's been pushing, he's been the catalyst for. He's been the backbone of, whispering in Justin Trudeau's ear. What do we really know about this guy? And what are his motives? We've got a bunch of other news here as well. Let's jump into this. Got this one here saying new report found millions of dollars worth of Russian oil is still being imported to Canada every single year despite all the sanctions. Basically, they're funneling this through another company and hiding where it's coming from. Thanks, Trudeau, for funding both sides of the global event. Sounds like a NDP Liberal regime move. We got this Vancouver poll saying, should cities ban natural gas in new buildings? 17% said yes, 66% said no. Yet, why did Vancouver ban it anyways? They're banning it out here on Vancouver Island too. It's absolutely insane. Our government is run by idiots. We should have all options available and let the people choose whatever is best for their community, for their home, for their location. All this climate hysteria and pushing all of these things is now starting to blow up in their faces as we're seeing banks now pulling out of these climate-backed green-funded programs, the net zero agenda, all of it. Like this one here, Canada pauses electric vehicle rebates worth up to $5,000 for buyers. So they secretly remove this off the website. They just kind of, yeah, we don't have any more money for that. Yet they're still pushing this on us. The hypocrisy is unreal. This is absolutely hilarious. This got me the first time. So I think this photo was originally Seamus O'Regan on this side. Are both Randys in the next running? Or are they both supporting Chrystia Freeland? Got this one here from Government EXE. It says, remember when Catherine McKenna decided to exit politics after nearly $100 billion in taxpayer money disappeared under her watch? Yeah, this is something I was mentioning the other day. This does need to be looked into. We need to know what happened with this whole situation. Where's the money, Kath? Over $93 billion went missing while she held her seat. She was the former environment minister before Stephen Guilbeault. Where's Mark Carney? So this post here by Canada Proud says, since his disastrous start, Mark Carney's gone missing. No media interviews, no social media. I was thinking the same thing. If you're running to be prime minister, wouldn't you be out there doing interviews every single day, like 3 times a day, going to businesses, going to stores, going to parks, talking to people, holding big media events? You should be getting your name out there as much as possible. But Mark Carney, he just went on the Jon Stewart show. He did his campaign rally announcement, and that's it. Crickets.
We've got Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England, and a sort of teenage superstar, Greta Thunberg. I mean, how does it feel being in that sort of coalition? And do you see yourself as part of a social movement?
So what we have here is Mark Carney basically admitting, saying he is the backbone of Greta Thunberg's movement.
I would say I see myself as part of the social movement. I think those at the vanguard of the social movement might see me as being farther behind. And I've, absolutely full credit, and I do in the book, to Greta Thunberg, who I've had the pleasure of meeting several times, and who absolutely has catalyzed that movement, the youth movement, and also done something incredibly valuable. And this is embarrassing to admit, but I think we should admit it. And this is often true, by the way, in finance. Very obvious truths are not fully understood in the system. So what she hammered home was the carbon budget, how small it was, how rapidly it was being depleted. And we've moved in a few short years, in part because of her, from a world of ESG, sustainability, broader conversations around, as I say, sustainability, to a relentless focus on net zero. It's called the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero for a reason, because we've moved to the relentless logic of having to get emissions down consistent with the carbon budget.
This guy's a relentless ambition of carbon taxing everyone on planet Earth. How dare you?
How dare you?
The gig is up, Carney. Everyone knows what your plan is. You snuck it under the rug for a while there. You and Klaus Schwab, you penetrated the cabinet. Yeah, you penetrated long too enough. The Liberals are out. The Conservatives cabinet isn't penetrated. You're done, man.
So in that regard, I'm part of that, and part of mapping what people want to the mechanisms, particularly in finance, in order to deliver it. I'm also, though, conscious that of 2 other things, Lionel. One is that, of course, net zero it's absolutely essential to stabilize the climate, but that's not the same thing as protecting biodiversity. It's not the same thing as having a just transition along the way. There are lots of other elements that are necessary to this that these broader social movements rightly shine a light on. So
he's been behind this thing the entire time. He's the carbon king. As a reply here, somebody, Mortimer, has put this: another BC-funded company bites the dust. Maybe the BC NDP will start to understand what's going on in the economy, and by the turn of the century, Rocky Mountain Bikes under creditor protection as global bicycle industry reels from the effects of the world event. Just another Canadian company biting the dust. Meanwhile, we've got Greta Thunberg doing her thing.
Show me what the people looks like. Show me what power looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is so icky. This is a clown world. Look at this. Mark Carney praises Greta Thunberg as climate movement catalyst.
Again, pro bono, but advising on the types of policies that are going to have maximum impacts for investors. So I'll give you an example, which is one of the issues. It's not the biggest issue. It's like 2% of global emissions. You wouldn't know it from the headlines, but 2% of global emissions is for air travel, emissions from air travel. Now, so the question is, are we going to have green, sustainable aviation fuel? What's happened in the UK, the EU, is they've said to major airlines, look, if you're flying in and out of Heathrow or wherever, you have to have 10% of your load has to be sustainable aviation fuel by, I think it's 2030. Consequence of that policy has been to convert some entrepreneurs in Texas, in this case, a company called Infineon, to become economic, because all of a sudden American Airlines, British Airways need to buy that fuel. They'll pay a green premium. You've got an offtake, that's high credit quality. And so in that case, we Brookfield put $1 billion to work there, and it's a fantastic opportunity. The point being, without the policy, the policy.
Fantastic opportunity for who? For your wallet? For your pocketbook? Your bank account?
Has to drive it and drive things down. So yeah, I'm dodging your question.
I know, I know you're dodging.
And look,
dodging your question. Klaus Schwab is admitting all WF members are working on an agenda that is 54 years old. This is not democracy, folks. The WF needs to be banned from Canadian politics and government contracts. We got another one here where we spoke at this Cardis event.
if we decide that we want to do something about climate change, and more specifically, we want to, in our case, be net zero by 2050, then it starts to become profitable to be part of the solution and costly to be still part of the problem. It's that realization that starts to move something from a social value to a value in the market. If you can come up with new technologies or use existing technologies to reduce carbon, then there's that opportunity set.
Here we go again. Mark Carney trying to scare people with his climate hysteria.
So do you have policies, actual or potential, that are going to help shape things? So regulation, carbon prices, or subsidies, other aspects. Interestingly, the more that happens today, the less painful it is when the policies actually come into place.
That's right, folks. It's going to be less painful, according to Mark Carbon Tax Carney. This guy is arguably going to be worse than Trudeau, because he's been the underlying force of Justin Trudeau. Trudeau is a bumbling idiot, and he takes credit for all of that. But a lot of this more darker, sinister stuff is coming directly from Carbon Tax Carney here.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Looks like the same setup we've got in the downtown streets of Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, etc.
Show me what the people look like.
We should be surprised that we got Greta Thunberg sitting here wearing a keffiyeh.
You mentioned the rewiring of our economies towards those that are more sustainable and resilient, and that the role of government is to help ensure that these changes are more inclusive, equitable, and regionally balanced. In these sustainable transitions, where do you think Canada can punch above our weight and demonstrate leadership globally?
I do think on the carbon price, we're demonstrating leadership globally. I mean, the both legs of it, the predictability, which I talked about earlier, but the recycling of the money and keeping 2/3 or 70% of Canadians net ahead. I know that people, not everybody might see it that way, but that is.
Yeah, that's because we don't actually get more money coming back than goes out. Like people like myself in British Columbia, or people in Quebec or Yukon, wherever, don't get money back. You got buffoons like David Eby, who takes so much of our money and then runs a massive historic deficit in our province, and then spends money on stupid things like making street candy free. We have the biggest idiots running our country. Let's just call it as it is. We don't need more buffoons. take a hike. This guy's been behind Trudeau's policies the entire time. He just laid out the 8 out of 10 bullcrap that they've been all pushing in the House of Commons for the past couple of years. That's exactly what he said. And he said 70% because he knows full well that people like myself in British Columbia and Quebec, etc., don't get a rebate. So it's about 13 million people, and of 41 million total people in Canada, it's almost 32%. That's why he said 30%. He knows full well who's getting it and who's not. He doesn't seem to have a problem that the carbon tax is not even fairly distributed across Canada. Yet they have no problem bringing in all these federal funds and taxes, but not dishing out fair and equal equalization payments across all the provinces. This makes no sense. This is so stupid. So you can see this graph here of equalization payments. Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia don't get any of those equalization payments, yet British Columbians are paying a carbon tax and get nothing back. How does that make sense? How is that fair?
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones.
We have multiple energy sources, and so the issue is transitioning, and we shouldn't shy away from that, from the energies of today and our strengths there to the cleaner energies of the future. And we can really punch above our weight, and by reinforcing the technological genius and innovation that we have in our energy sector, reinvesting as much as necessary.
Punching above our weight, we're selling our oil super cheap to America so they can get rich. How is that punching above our weight? Why are we not refining our own oil and getting rich and then developing new technology and being ahead of the curve? Why is it Saudi Arabia and Dubai and all these other countries that get to be rich and are being run by people who want to make their own citizens prosper?
Show me what power looks like.
Next up, he takes a dig at Donald Trump here.
And an American financial system and business community that was headed in this direction independently, because they're more or less global, had been somewhat hamstrung, if not in some cases quite hamstrung, by the previous administration, now unleashed. So all of that is
the previous administration. You're taking a direct dig here at Donald Trump. So he's talking about Biden being hamstrung by the previous administration, because this was, you can see here, 2020. So he would have been talking about Trump's first term. If this guy takes over for Trudeau and he's going head to head with Trump, this is going to be ugly.
But I'll be candid as well. I mean, one of the issues of sharp shifts, and anytime you have a country that has a sharp shift, I'd like to think that part of what will come out in the next few years will be the positive side of dealing with climate change, the competitiveness side, the job creation side, and just the improvements in quality of life that can come with it, will help depoliticize big elements of it.
Yeah, the problem is it's doing everything opposite of what you're saying. It's hurting our country. It's hurting our people. People are sleeping in the streets, man. Go take a look. Negative temperatures. People are just trying to survive out there. Your climate agenda is not wanted in Canada.
One struggle, one fight, climate justice, human rights.
Mark Carney is most likely going to win the Liberal leadership race, and we're going to have this. Just imagine this. So Carney sides with Greta Thunberg against Trump over climate. Just imagine this head-to-head in Canada. This is going to be such a disaster. Worse than Trudeau. This guy's smart enough to use the financial system to his advantage. How is he going to use this against Donald Trump? Is he going to piss off Trump? Is he going to piss off the dragon? This does not bode well for Canada. Her and Mark Carney, right? They're going to take over the world. It all seems very deliberate, coming from the old windbag here himself, Klaus Schwab, and the WF.
We are coming together at a moment when the world faces critical challenges. Our annual risk report 2025 identifies the foremost risks, such as armed conflicts, extreme weather events, misinformation and disinformation.
These guys are like the king of that. Like, that is their calling card.
Increasing divisions within societies, within countries, cyber espionage, and many more. Simultaneously, we stand at the brink of what we call here the intelligent age, where artificial intelligence and other groundbreaking technologies and innovations will fundamentally transform economic systems, business models, and personal lives. The transition from the industrial to the intelligent age is occurring at an exponential pace, carrying unprecedented risks for humanity as we strive to prepare and to adapt to its complexities.
This is true, but the last people we want in charge of the AI revolution is Klaus Schwab and all his gang of thieves here.
It also offers significant opportunities for meeting current and future challenges and spark a new renaissance, one defined by advancements in technology, health, culture, and societal welfare.
This guy's an absolute creep. I can say without a doubt, anyone that supports him is also an absolute creep. Yeah, I mean, well, look who we got. Justin Trudeau, his protege, absolute creep. The destruction is intentional. So this guy's the head of the think tank, started by him, corporately funded. All he has is a con man spiel. When they stop believing, he has nothing. He must have really pulled some tricks to get this position. Exactly. This is just some guy with a podium and a building with a World Economic Forum banner. This isn't some government organization. This isn't a country. This is just some dude with an agenda. We got this one here. It says truck does 360 and recovers on the Anthony Henday. This is absolutely insane. Look at this guy. Loses control and there it is. Full 360. Sticks the landing. That's pretty scary. This happened to me just outside of Tofino, going down a big slope on black ice. Nearly stuck my vehicle in the ditch, but ended up sticking the landing facing the opposite way in the opposite lane. This guy works in the field, I can guarantee it. Lucky, I bet he had to change his underwear when he got home.
Here's why Toyota doesn't believe in electric vehicles. In a leaked internal document, they lay out the 1-6-90 rule. Essentially, it's saying the amount of raw material it takes to make one battery electric vehicle could instead be used to make 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 hybrid vehicles. And the overall carbon reduction of those 90 hybrids over lifetime is 37 times more than a single battery electric vehicle. Do you believe Toyota is right in this?
This is an interesting point. Maybe there should be more focus on hybrids versus fully electric vehicles. Well, there we have it. Mark Carney praising Greta Thunberg. Is this really the guy we want to be negotiating with Donald Trump with? Is this the guy we're going to get stuck with as the next Prime Minister of Canada?